The Wolf of Friendship starter deck offers a lot to a variety of purple decks. However, when it comes to trying to build a pure metalgarurumon deck, both purple and blue will have some finer details to maneuver, considering at this time there is a purple line that ignores color requirements, but not blue. As a result, my proposal for either options are a little bit on the high risk, high reward end. Like my previous video with the Dragon of Courage, this video's goal is to provide insight on how many copies of each card are available in the starter deck, what you can do by smashing 2 decks together, and then 4 additional variants upgrading with older cards. It's no surprise that the starter decks have parallels to each other. This one has the same kind of cards as 2 copies, and they are important to some degree. Gabumon, Garurumon, weregarurumon, metalgarurumon Ace, and the Lament of Friendship cards are only available in quantities of 2. And like the Dragon of Courage, you'll want these as playsets. That being said, with just one starter deck, it feels very underpowered, at least to me. But smashing 2 starter decks together can yield you a very simple deck, of which I'll start with the simple Melga Ace as your top end. Although still not completely perfect, this deck does offer the simple necessities of digging quickly through your deck to find other combo pieces. And by setting up a Mammothmon or even a weregarurumon, you can threaten stealing turns back, assuming the Digimon is not deleted or de-digivolved. While gimmicky, there are further ways to improve this deck. Sure, Baldy Blow is great removal, but it only affects level 5 and lower Digimon. For the first deck variant, let's discuss your typical metalgarurumon Ace. This variant utilizes some blue splash, with a primary purple base. The point being is to get into metalgarurumon Ace, and control the memory utilizing trash effects like Matt Ishida and Nidhoggmon. Additionally, Underworld's Call can be used as both a reviver, or trash fodder to draw cards. Battle protection exists in the form of your Garurumon X cards, but these ratios were something I picked up looking at lists off DigimonMeta.com, and feel that this can be risky. Although metalgarurumon Ace is one way to pursue the deck, there is also the blue-based variant that utilizes predominantly the blue Melga Ace line for additional bouncing in conjunction with the memory tricks. Personally, I think this list is stronger than the metalgarurumon Ace variant, but it can be risky depending on what cool boy hits when you reveal the top 3. That being said, your Omnimons are restricted to just going off of metalgarurumon X. Again, these lists aren't perfect, nor have they been tested, but are currently avenues I would like to explore. With the restriction of promo weregarurumon, utilizing the new weregarurumon from the starter deck helps, but locks you on purple colors. As a result, this is where running weregarurumon Sagittarius mode and weregarurumon X could help flip you back to blue at the right time. With regards to other decks, what can you do? For now, I am looking at exploring a Merva Loop deck with some adjustments from the starter deck. With the addition of another Gabumon, this can help with memory even if your opponent chokes you to 1. With Security Garurumons, you can play your new Mad Ishidas, which can be suspended to gain you memory if you trash cards in your hand, which this deck loves to do. While Lament of Friendship was a consideration because of the number of Gabumons, I opted not to because there's no Garurumons in the top end. Your typical combos for this deck rely on setting yourself to 3 memory and your opponent having 2 or fewer Digimon in play. As a result, if you can Digivolve or promote up Minervamon, you could attack for 1 security, then play Revive from the Darkness. Doing so will trigger a slew of effects which can play Cerberusmon from the trash, assuming it's there, off the option card, and then play Werewolf mode off of Minervamon's effect. As a result, you'll net 5 memory overall if your opponent doesn't have a floodgate out, because you can delete Cerberusmon to draw 2, trash 1, and then Werewolf mode gains 9 memory. Although gimmicky again, with decks like Royal Knights that have larger bodies and security, don't expect your follow-up Digimon to survive. Mervamon coming out last though can bring out 2 Soulmons with Rush, or a defensive option with buff DP, Retaliation, and Blocker. Another fun option to consider was also Anubismon from BT4. With a primary deck core that runs the Gabumons for trashing, you could also sneak into Guilmons for additional rush attackers. Now the funny thing with this deck is you could in theory climb up to even Omnimon's Wart for a reduced cost with win rate 60%. This reduction is by 4, making Zwart just 2. But with Matt Ishida, it is further reduced because you'll gain memory when you trash a card for the effect. Hindsight, looking at this build, it would be optimal to have security Garurumons to facilitate playing Matt for free. But between Eismon scatter modes, Genkakumon, Kinkakumon, and Promote, maybe it'd be best to just drop the Kinkaku and Ginkakus altogether for the security Garurumons. But the primary concept of this deck is to utilize Omnimon Zwart to play Pumpkinmons, to potentially play the Guilmons for additional rush attackers. Even setting up a Mammothmon can be a mind game for your opponent, because should they try to attack over Mammothmon, you may have the Ace Metal Garurumon that will steal memory and retaliate against their attacker. For the final deck profile, this profile looks at a completely different top end. You do utilize one copy of the Ace Metal Garurumon, but the overall theme of this deck is an undead theme. You're utilizing your gabumons to trash cards from your hand, while also setting up your trash for Digivolution shenanigans. As a result, you could potentially go in a Grand Dracmon who could start building a second stack fairly quickly. Overall, this deck hasn't had any testing, but the concept of it still intrigues me. After all, Matt Ishida's effects would constantly work in conjunction with Skull Mammothmon, and even let you play more free bodies to Digivolve into. Though the Dragon of Courage starter deck offers some fairly straightforward lists, my personal opinion is that purple is one of the colors that has the highest skill ceilings. It's not that the decks are complicated, but the amount of time setup that's required to typically win can leave you at times outpaced. In regards to the weakest decks of the ones mentioned here, as usual the straight starter deck would be the weakest. Depending on your local meta, I would argue that the Undead theme would be the slowest, followed by the Anubismon variant. Both variants require quite a trash setup in theory to win, and for Anubismon especially, it has a win more vibe to it. My current issues with the Melga Ace and Melga X decks are that while they can hit hard and fast, it's the fact that they splash a secondary color that makes it hard for me to say that they're the strongest, though Melga X barely creeps ahead of the Ace. But for overall consistency and no worry with colors or dumping trash too slow, I'd have to give it to Minervamon Mervamon. Again, these are my preliminary opinions based on theory crafting and where I'd go with these decks moving forward. Which ones intrigued you the most again, and why? Let me know in the comments as Reprint Booster is set to drop in just a week and a half. This is DIGI-PANDA, logging out.